Okay, so I'm going to be doing a text analysis of C.S. Lewis and his books, The Screw Tape Letters and The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So first off, we're going to introduce C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis was a English author and theologian. He was popular within the mid 1900s, so 19 um, around 1940 to the 1960s. I believe he passed away in the 60s. He also has written, he's most predominantly known for his books, The Chronicles of Narnia, which is a series of children's books. He has also written more adult-based books geared towards adults that tends to explore deeper Christian concepts rather than the children's books, which do not specifically explore, but a lot of the events are definitely allegory for a lot of biblical events. One of his most popular works, next to the Chronicles of Narnia, was the Screw Tape Letters and Mere Christianity, which gained popularity, I believe, in the early 2000s. So as an introduction to the analysis, so for this analysis, I'll be analyzing the text between the Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, and the book The Screw Tape Letters. My data will come from the following websites: Same Diff, Voyant Tools, and the Google Ngram. And here's just a little picture of the two books I'll be analyzing. So for the Same Diff results, according to these findings, said is the most common word. That would make sense considering both books are fictional works that describe specific events. Also, there are a lot of words that are in both books and not in both. The top words used in both books combined would be said, one, would, enemy, and like. This would make sense considering they are both stories and both contain antagonists. When it comes to Narnia, Lewis uses Lucy, Edmund, Witch, and Aslan. Lucy and Edmund are one of the main protagonists. The Witch is the antagonist, and Aslan is sort of the lion that is allegory for Jesus. As mentioned in the Bible, Jesus in God was referenced to the lion and the lamb, and sort of Aslan would be considered the lion because he is technically allegory for Jesus, and I can get more into that later. One word that does stand out is Adam, which is a reference to Adam in the Old Testament of the Bible, specifically the book of Genesis. When it comes to the Screw Tape Letters, Lewis uses wormwood, uncle, screw tape, affectionate, and produce. Wormwood is one of the characters in the books, one of the demons. I believe Screw Tape is the uncle, hence why it says uncle. Affectionate and produce would just be more common words of what Lewis is trying to explain. And one word that sticks out is Christians. This is because he is a Christian author, and because he directly states that it is a more educational book rather than a fictional book. So for my Voyant Tools results, here's a little picture of my corpus. As you can see, said, Lucy, Edmund, Time, Enemy, Like, Witch, and Aslan are some of the biggest books. Not biggest books, biggest words, more commonly used. For document length, the longest is The Chronicles of Narnia. It's not that long, but it's still longer than the Screw Tape Letters. That is about almost 6,000 words less. The most frequent words used in the corpus is said, Lucy, like, Edmund, and Time. The Screw Tape Letters also has a higher readability index. That would make sense as it is geared towards a more mature audience with a higher reading comprehension. And the most common phrase used is a son of Adam and a daughter of Eve. And so just to explain what this phrase means, it references again to the Old Testament of the Christian Bible, the book of Genesis. Adam and Eve were the first human beings to be created, according to the Bible, and their descendants is the rest of humanity, the rest of the human race. So when it's referencing to a son of Adam and a daughter of Eve, is because they're humans, and Adam and Eve were the first humans, and the main protagonists are descended from Adam and Eve. And that's also commonly used by Aslan, who is Jesus, pretty much. And so the most frequent words in each book, according to Voyant Tools, is for Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, is Lucy, Edmund, Witch, Aslan, and Peter. The screw tape letters uses enemy, wormwood, screw tape, and uncle, and patience. So for the Google Ngram, for the Ngram results, as you can see right here, it's kind of hard to see. But for Lucy, it was fairly popular in the 1800s to the late 1880s, and it slowly decreased in popularity until the 80s, which sort of grew. This is Edmund. It was more popular and it decreased in popularity, which became more popular, and I would guess as around the 1980s, so that would be around the rise of pop culture, and a lot of more fictional stories came out. For Aslan, Screw Tape, and Wormwood, I don't know how Wormwood was really popular in the 1800s, but it sort of gained, these three gained more popularity in the early 2000s, and that would be because for Aslan, that would be around the time the Chronicles of Narnia, Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe movie came out in 2005. And in regards to the rest of the books, I would guess that's because it's a popular Christian book that's often read today, and I guess the books probably gained popularity. So for Edmund, it was more common in the early 1800s. Lucy became more popular after the 1980s. Aslan was barely used, but became more popular in mid-2000s, which was around the release of the movie Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, and the other following two movies. Wormwood was also less used in the early 2000s, and the same was for Screw Tape, and this would mean that the books gained popularity in the early 2000s, as I just stated. Okay, so as a summary of the overall text analysis, it is evident that there is a lot of similarities in the two books, but they are also very different. The Chronicles of Narnia is a book geared towards children, which is why there's more allegory references to biblical elements in the text rather than straightforward like the Screw Tape letters. When it comes to the corpus, the Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe had the most commonly used words out of the two books. This would be because Lewis in the Screw Tape letters is writing a series of, the demon is writing a series of letters to another demon. So it's going over multiple topics versus Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe, which is one singular story with a beginning, middle, end. And so for the Chronicles of Narnia, it does have a low readability index compared to Screw Tape letters, but this is probably because of the audience age. Both books are very different when it comes to the audience age preference of Narnia being a more children's book. Screw Tape letters is for more adults and explores more theological aspects of Christianity. The books definitely do have some allegory text, sort of hinting towards biblical elements, because C.S. Lewis is a Christian and theologian, which is predominantly in The Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, so that the book isn't strictly a Christian book, but for all children to read. So when it comes to the lion referencing to being allegory for Jesus, then you have the witch who killed the lion in the book, and references to the Romans killing Jesus, along with a lot of the creatures relate to Roman mythology, such as Mr. Tumnus, which is in one of the pictures, who is a faun. And when it comes to the allegory elements of the one sentence I said, which was a son of Adam and daughter Eve, that is also allegory to the Old Testament, when it came to the sacrifice of the lion, that reference to the New Testament of the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus. And that's kind of where C.S. Lewis does the allegory text versus the text in the Screwtape Letters, which is strictly just talking about Christianity, talking about sin, talking about all the other stuff. It is really interesting. I'm not going to get too much into what the books are about because it's more of a textual analysis, but overall, the books are very different but very similar. Both still have Christian aspects to it. One is more complex than the other, and these findings definitely hint towards that. I hope you enjoyed this little analysis, and thank you for watching.